And God stepped out on space and he looked around and said, I am lonely. I will make me a world. And as far as the eyes of God could see, darkness covered everything. It was blacker than 100 midnights and down in a cypress mountain. Then God smiled, and the light broke, and the darkness rolled up on one side, and the light stood shining on the other side. And God said, that's good. Then God reached out and took the light in his hand. God rolled his light around in his hand until he made the sun. And he set that sun ablaze in the heaven. The light that was left from making the sun, God gathered it up in his hand and flung it against the darkness, sparkling the night with the moon and stars, and down between the darkness and light, God beheld the world, and he said, that's good. Then God stepped down. The sun was on his right and the moon on his left. The stars were clustered around his shoulders, and the earth was under his feet, and God walked. And where he trod, his footsteps hollowed the valleys out and bulged the mountains out. Then he stopped and looked and saw that the earth was hot and barren. So God stepped over to the edge of the world and he spat out the seven seas. He battered his eyes and the lightning flashed. He clapped his hands and the thunders roared, and the waters above the earth came down. The cooling waters came down. The green grass sprouted. The little red flowers blossomed. The pine tree pointed his finger to the sky, and the oak spread out its arms. The lakes scuttled down in the hollows of the ground, and the rivers ran down to the sea. And God smiled again, and the rainbow appeared and coiled itself around his shoulders. Then God raised his hand. He waved his hand over the seas and over the land, and he said, bring forth, bring forth. And who at the God could drop his hand? Fishes and fowls and the beasts swam. The rivers and the lakes roamed the forest and split the air with their wings. Then God walked around and looked around at all that he has made. He looked at his sun. He looked at his moon. He looked at the woods and the mangrove forest that he has created. And God said, I am lonely still. So God sat down on the side of the hill where he could think. By a deep, wide river, he sat down with his head in his hand, and God thought, I will make me a man. Up from the bed of the river, God scooped the clay, and by the bank of the river, he nailed him down. There, this great God who lit the sun and fixed it up in the sky, who suspended the dark blue naked moon in the middle of nowhere, who flung the stars to the most far corners of the night. This great God, like a mommy bending over her baby, kneeled him down in the dust, turning over a lump of clay till he shaped it in his own image. Then into it he blew the breath of life. A man became a living soul. Hallelujah.